Fang with us. If you're wondering, who is he? Well, he used to live in the Philippines. He moved to San Francisco, and from a writer, he worked as an IT guy, and now he's back to what his first love is. So she said, I wonder how it would have been like to travel with him, to share a room with him, and to go on a trip with him.
Yes, not would have been. How would it be? Because we can still actually do it.
Oh, too late.
Why not? Okay, anyway, and she said that she's glad that he's back to writing because he's very excellent at it.
Yes.
Thank you.
So hi, Wilson.
Hello, Jackie.
And thank you very much for coming here tonight.
And thank you for having me.
And you look really
non-writerish. No ink
The
stains.
transformation. Mention
what
the
a transformation.
Yeah.
Well, because when we met, we were like, jeans and t-shirt and stuff. But look at you now.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm trying to project a more professional, attitude.
Well, let's see. Would you look like a writer if I met you?
Probably not.
No, pwede na rin.
But yeah. A very successful writer, which I'm not.
No,
Not
you are.
yet.
He's actually really excellent. I mean, you should see his work.
Did you start writing from school?
Yeah, I started writing as a kid actually, because
Really?
I read a lot,
Like short stories?
Yeah, more like feature pieces, that sort of thing.
What's the first thing you remember writing? Let's start all the way in
An
the
essay when I was, I think, the 4th or 5th grade in school, and we had to. I remember it was Father's Day, and we had to write about our fathers.
Oh.
And my father passed away, but I had a very, as do a lot of people,
What did you write
complicated relationship with my dad, and so I wrote about him, and I think I was a little more honest.
10 years old, yeah.
Yeah, I think I was a little more honest.
Do you remember anything?
Yeah, because some of the teachers
he
were
was
like,
so-
"You're not supposed to say this about your dad."
Okay,
Wait,
so what did you
he was
say?
alive then.
Yeah, he was alive then.
Probably
Yeah.
killed him, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm sure the cumulative effect
But
of such.
would it be something like if he read it, he would be, sentimental?
Or would he look back in his life and maybe, hey,
No, it would be a little more like, "Oh, my kid's so smart, and I'm going to disown him right now." Yeah.
What did you write?
No, I just, because I wrote a very unvarnished but very, accurate, I
Yeah.
felt, portrayal
Okay,
of
what
what
do
his
you
dad was.
remember of it?
He was just, that he was a very loving dad. He was very supportive, but he could also, he had his quirks. He was very, he could sometimes be very critical. He could sometimes, be kind of your absentee dad in a way. He was very involved with our family businesses, so he wasn't there for like birthdays and whatnot. And I wrote all that down.
Yeah, and I wrote about it.
Yeah, I wrote about him about all his, not flaws as a father, but basically I was really honest in terms of portraying him who he was.
If
And
I
I think
were your teacher, I would really like your work.
yeah, but I went to this really Christian evangelical school, and they wanted us to portray all our fathers as saints, which obviously my father wasn't.
But
I
Sure,
maybe
he
that
called your
maybe
dad to the guidance
maybe
counselor.
maybe those were the beginnings of my of my career as a journalist.
Okay, and then after that in high school.
In high school, I used to join. I won a few essay writing contests, and I figured, maybe this is something I can do. And I actually majored in communication art. I did Lea Comm at LaSalle, and I majored in communication arts and marketing management initially to start. But then even my communication arts major was focused on printing and publishing, as opposed to others who wanted to be the next Raymond Red or whatever. I really wanted to write, and then
In fact, you were one of the youngest to write for.
yeah. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, maybe I've been replaced since. But at the time I started writing for the Manila Times, I was still in college. I was 19, and I
Do you remember how much your first paycheck was?
It was painfully low. That's about as much as I can remember.
Like how low?
Like a couple of $100 pesos, I think. I mean, this
per
is
article.
Per
How
article.
Would you write for for the...
Would they tell you what to write about?
Yeah, they would assign me
Broadsheet.
stuff. Yeah.
So just one article and you'd get paid?
Yes, I'd get paid per piece.
Yeah, when I was like that age, somebody also asked me.
Yeah.
I had a show with these reporters, and they asked if I could be one of their writers.
Yeah.
And then they would just edit it for me,
Yeah.
whether it be in Tagalog
Exactly.
or English.
No,
and I
yeah.
said, how much would I get paid? And then I think it was like, it could be as high as 1,500, but it could also be as low as like
A few
couple of
hundred pesos,
yes.
yeah. I think my
Depends how
first piece was a
often.
few hundred pesos, just because it was a short piece. I guess they were trying me out. I mean, I came kind of recommended, but it wasn't really until I started
Recommended
writing.
by?
I actually
What?
started writing. No, actually through Liza Gokongwei, who
Right.
now heads Summit Media, and at the time she and Yvette Fernandez were the editors
Yeah.
of the feature section. And so, I met them at the dinner, and I was classmates with Marcia Gokongwei, who is Liza's younger sister, and I guess they knew I liked to write, and we started talking about writing, and they asked me to do a few pieces. And a few months, maybe about 6 or 7 months after I started writing for the Times, they actually gave me my first column.
So what kind of writing do you do? Do you do poetry? Do you
No, more feature writing. Like I do everything from travel to fashion to food.
To Wikipedia entries?
Yes, even Wikipedia entries. But maybe
And
we'll
you
go
make
into
up.
that today. Yeah, and yeah. Well, not really made up, but I'm very meticulous with my facts.
Okay, so what would you write
Very
about
good.
the show, let's say? Like the hosts.
Yes, two fabulous women who
Okay,
are.
that's enough. Okay, that's
there.
enough.
There
Yeah,
you go.
That's pretty accurate already.
I know,
No,
you
what's
know?
the last thing you wrote about as you were...
For the Manila Times, I remember it was a piece about an antique shop in Malate, who was headed by a foreigner and his Filipino partner, and it was quite nice because they had an antique shop, and because the foreigner was an antique dealer in London, so he was very experienced, and even their home in Pasay, I think
We're
it was
full
on.
of-
Yeah, I mean, it was an old ancestral home that they were renting, and it itself was like a showpiece.
Yeah, showroom,
You know,
yeah.
all antiques and a beautiful house. And so I wrote about their antique shop, their home, and I think even the two guys together. So it was quite interesting.
So
actually.
what happens, Wilson, if they ask you to write about something you're not interested in?
And that actually happened fairly often when I was, I was the junior reporter. In fact, I remember being called the youngest ever columnist for Asia's oldest English language newspaper, which the Manila Times is.
Yes.
And so, but then, even with that tagline, I was still the youngest guy on the staff, so
Yeah.
I would get assigned the pieces nobody else wanted to do. So like sometimes, articles would arrive late or not at all, and then I'd have 4 hours to write about, say, the history of ice cream. And I'd be like, I don't know anything about the history of
that's
ice cream.
like that.
I know, but I love ice cream, but I don't know, all I know how to do is really eat it. I don't really know anything about its background, so
Okay,
I'd have to
something not
run.
so interesting. I mean, that's so interesting.
Yeah, but
Speaking of ice cream,
Yeah.
do you see the recent commercial of the ice cream and all the flavors that all these guys are like cooking up? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know.
Very strawberry,
We bought.
chocolate. I was looking yesterday.
away.
Can I
See,
have? Can I go to
you
your
know.
house?
Sure.
Where'd you get grocery?
Yeah,
Do
the
they only
grocery.
sell it in the big ones?
We bought 3 and then it's gone and we're gonna buy again.
Is it
Like,
as
if you
good
find
as it looks and sounds?
yes,
Because
yes.
I was intrigued from the first time, and
It's
every
very-
There you
single
go.
time I
And
see it, I
if we were, if I were writing about you girls enjoying your ice cream, I'm sure I could have come up with something much more fabulous than what I wrote. But for me, I'm like, I like to eat ice cream. I'm not necessarily that into its history. I didn't know that, so I would have to run to the library, look at all these books, and then I'd have 2 hours to write about the history of ice cream. Or I remember I wrote about once, anti-aging supplements, which when you're
that's also interesting.
Yeah, but when you're 20 years old, anti-aging is
Yeah,
not
yeah,
necessarily at the
oh,
forefront of
yeah,
your mind.
okay.
So
Okay, now that we're this age, where is it?
it's a to be
You
honest.
probably use that, right?
Yeah. Well, let's just say I'm counting on my genes. These genes.
Okay, so what is your most favorite topic?
Travel. Probably travel. I read a lot too. So,
How many books a week did you say you read?
about 2 to 3.
Really?
Yeah, I have to, because I hardly ever watch TV, and and I go to the movies every so often. But I tend to prefer like vintage and independent film, which aren't always available. So my preferred pastime is really reading. Like
Really, more than television?
much. Like I hardly ever watch. I have like
I watch
in
a
my
lot of television.
in my apartment. I have like the 60-inch TV that hardly ever gets used. So most of the time I'm just reading.
So last weekend, he met Tita Amalia Fuentes, and he could rattle off the lines in her movies. Example.
Are you serious?
Yeah, come on.
Well, this is actually what Vilma Santos was saying to Amalia Fuentes, but
Come on, do the
remember
whole
this.
act.
Remember this, Dr. Paredes. no woman can seduce a happy husband. And she gets in her car and drives off. I still remember, it's a box-type Lancer. So that line was from Asawa Ko, Wag Mong Agawin.
Oh my God!
Finish it.
Yeah.
Finish it.
That's a lot. I will run out of time in your segment. But this is so,
So I made him do it. To
When
Tita
you-
Amalia, I said, Tita Amalia, listen to this, and he did the whole
I
act.
know when
Yeah.
you went out of town, I really kept thinking about all of you and having so much fun. I kept saying,
It was
"Should have gone, I
everything
should
you're
have gone,
imagining."
Yeah.
Should I have just escaped
Yes.
and made a
Yes.
you
Yeah,
know?
you probably should have.
Because
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
husband and I never fight.
Yeah.
Never. We actually
Well,
never
it would have
really
been a
did.
good time.
And it could have been like the first time.
Yeah,
There why you go. not?
I should have gone.
It would have been
I was
worth it.
such a good wife, but should I just, okay,
Maybe,
forget now.
and,
We have to
and,
get
and
the
then if
children
you,
and go.
yeah, maybe if you fought, then that would have been a topic for our next episode.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
No,
Okay,
fights
so-
would never
and then
last
how
anyway.
How did Tita Amalia react?
Well,
This is like 10 minutes from me introducing them.
Well, I think she was a little surprised that somebody could actually,
my
recite
God,
lines from a movie that came
yeah.
out, 20, 25 years ago. A movie that probably, Tita
I
Amalia
would
has
be
done
flattered.
has done dozens of movies, and she's one of the Philippines' most acclaimed actresses.
Yes.
And I'm sure, she doesn't remember everything she's ever done.
Yes,
She has
it's-
vague memories of working on it, of course.
Tita Amalia
So she was
hasn't
quite
even
shocked that
seen
that I would remember like lines from a movie that even she doesn't remember doing anymore.
Because she's only seen the movies when it was out and
Yeah.
never again.
Yeah, exactly.
So she was surprised that he could mouth them,
okay.
and she was surprised that he knew so much about her and everyone else.
Yeah.
I felt like, what were you born in that age?
I
How
know.
come you know so much?
Yeah,
and
I
it's
know.
all because you read.
What are you born in that day? It's so funny because when she actually met us,
Mm-hmm.
she didn't know who I was, and she didn't know that I
She
was in
didn't know
showbiz. She didn't know I
anything.
was the daughter of my dad,
Yeah.
and she didn't know her either, and who she was, and then the daughter of her dad.
And
stuff.
we
and
didn't know
we didn't
anything.
know about her. We didn't
Yeah.
know her husband or her first husband who was artista.
How many
Right.
children?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
didn't know anything.
So I asked actually my mom recently, okay, who was this, who was that, who was she married to, and who was her husband, this and that. and
No,
that.
yeah, she's Asia's Elizabeth Taylor, basically.
Yes, exactly.
So,
That's what people were telling me.
and she was
beautiful.
Yeah, she was a commercial
Beautiful,
model.
great
She
actress.
did for soap. She was the image model for Kukuryu Cosmetics for a while.
Really?
And she
So
can
the-
dance. Such an excellent host too. You would
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
loved.
I know.
She's a very gracious host.
Yeah, so let's thank Tita Amalia.
Thank you, Tita Amalia.
Thank you, Tita
Thank
Amalia.
you,
Yeah.
Tita Amalia.
Thank
We
you.
spent
A
a weekend
wonderful
at her
weekend,
place, and
yes.
it was really
A very blessed
fantastic.
Lenten.
And we had takeout manggang hilaw
Yes,
pa.
exactly.
Thank you.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, see if she actually bought enough food for you and your
I
family.
know. Thank you very much. But thank you very much for the thoughtfulness.
Yeah.
Okay, and
we'll guest her sometime soon.
of course.
Right.
There
Yes.
you go.
Okay, so anyway, so you like to write about travel.
Travel. I mean, really, I have a lot of different interests: fashion, photography. I love architecture. I love history. I love art. So really, most of the writing I do tends to be around areas that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately, I have a lot of different interests. So I still haven't run out of things to write, and
Yeah.
hopefully I never will. So
Okay, what about what do you think about the people who write now about the people in the media now, the press? Because when I started in show business, I mean, it was like they were saying things like, ito yung bumili lang ng patis, or di ba,
Yeah,
pagbalik,
yeah.
di ba?
Yeah.
So
Well,
they
I
used to say
think
things like that.
I don't understand what you just said.
Okay,
Sad.
something, nagpabili lang ng patis,
Bumalik
nung
na,
bumalik,
writer na.
writer na
Yeah.
siya. And
Oh,
they used to say that
okay.
about all the writers.
Meaning lacking in
Meaning,
qualification.
Like,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
didn't really study it.
Yeah, or a
You could
lot of
just be
writers.
you could just be a showbiz writer if you wanted to.
Yeah, and a
Or
lot of writers are
ACDC, attack, collect, defend,
Yeah,
collect.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of even during our time, a lot of writers were called, like in Tagalog, the term was SS, meaning sulat-sulat lang, meaning people who wouldn't really be in it for the craft of it or because they really were genuinely interested in writing, but who would, as the saying goes, just phone it in, basically just kind of do
Yeah.
it for a paycheck,
And
and,
it's-
you know,
yeah.
and that's not really the best way to approach the craft of
Yeah.
writing. And I think now, the publishing and the industry of journalism, or the field of journalism in this country, has become a lot more professional.
Yes, I agree.
Because I think people are more exposed now with the internet and people traveling
Yeah.
more. They know that
The lawsuits.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's that also, but people are becoming more and more aware that you have to have a certain standards of writing, of grammar and whatnot, and also you have to know how to make your topic interesting. And then there are all the back areas of that as well, which are there are certain ethics that need to be followed. Like,
Yeah.
for example, like one of my friends is Margot Salcedo, and she writes the food column in the
Yes.
Sunday Inquirer. And one of her things is when she reviews a restaurant, she goes in anonymously. She pays for all her meals. You know, she doesn't accept freebies, and that's the way they do it internationally. And you know, and during
way you're not biased.
during my time, a lot of writers wouldn't do that. I mean, I would do it that way, but you know, a lot of writers didn't. And I think it's very gratifying to see that we're moving in a more
Yes,
professional
yes, I
direction.
like the idea.
Yeah, yeah.
We must have her on the show and ask for her favorite restaurants.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Actually,
Yeah.
actually, what people do, I think some people like to get into this kind of business because they get a lot of freebies.
Perks, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for me, you know, it's nice to get the occasional freebie, but like during my days in the Manila Times, you know, I you know, was pretty scrupulous about, you know, I mean, if it was just a little trinket, fine. But, you know, I think I was talking to Fez Zamora of the Inquirer actually over a dinner last weekend, and she mentioned something which I think is quite apt. Basically,
Like?
the policy is if you can't afford to pay for it, don't take it. You know, or if it goes beyond what you'd normally pay for or what you'd normally buy, don't take it. Because I think that's very apt.
What if they write something about you, and then after that, let's say you write something really great about me, and then I give you something?
And it's something you can't afford.
Well, in my case, you know, I would return it because
But
Really?
I
You
would
would?
really be happy if I shared it with you, and I would probably be sad if you didn't take it.
well, you know, there's certain, you know, if you're in the business, as they say, whether you know,
And it's after the article.
true,
Yeah,
but
it's done.
because as part of the writing, as the profession of journalism, you know, you have to adhere to a certain standard, and the standard is you can never let yourself be influenced or even show the appearance of being influenced by any sort of reward. So whether it comes before or after the piece is published, you always have to be judicious in maintaining that kind of level of, I guess, correctness in terms of not appearing to be somebody
So-
who would take gifts.
So how would you return things if ever? Like,
Well, you know,
let's say
I mean,
it's
I
cash,
would
the
just like
envelope with
refuse
cash.
it, but you know, I would send it, especially if it were something expensive or valuable.
Yeah, so let's say
I
a
would write back.
messenger brings it.
Yeah, then I would just send it back with a note
I mean,
saying.
of course, you would
With a
open it
note
and see it was
saying-
cash.
Exactly.
With a note
Kulang.
saying,
Kulang
Yeah,
po.
exactly. I'm like, you know,
I cannot
No, I would
so
just send it back
afford
with a
it.
number with a note saying, "This is my Swiss bank account. You know, deposit it here." No,
I
seriously,
would
if it's
prefer
whether
you
it's
can send it to
cash,
my
whether
house.
it's a Louis Vuitton bag or
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
or Hugo Boss suit or whatever, I would just, you know, send it back with a gracious note saying,
Saying-
"I appreciate the sentiments. You know, thank
But
you very
you can
much."
give it to
but
Cutie
because
and Jackie.
there you go,
Yeah.
let's send it to this building. No, but then I would just
Well,
say, you know, because
finish your sentence.
Yeah,
I appreciate
I
the
appreciate the sentiments,
but-
but given the profession that I'm in order to maintain you know, a scrupulous level of, you know, and not give the impression that this profession is for sale, I cannot accept this.
But wait, so meaning if you're going to be sent out to report about a certain resort outside the country and they sent you a business class ticket and you normally wouldn't travel that way because your miles are expired. And so you would
My miles
return
never
it?
expire.
Okay,
No, I'm just kidding.
because you just used your miles.
Yeah.
So would you return it?
Well, again, it depends. But personally, again, if it's a junket type thing,
Yes, a junket type.
A junket type thing, I'm a little iffy about stuff like that because, you know, for example, international travel publications, they have a very strict policy. They pay for all their trips, they pay for all their expenses. They never even identify themselves in most cases to the hotel or wherever they're going, whether it's an airline, a hotel, a cruise ship, whatnot. Because again, they don't want their writing and their reportage to be influenced by any sort of special treatment.
Okay.
And I think for me, the same policy would apply.
Yeah.
Like if I get sent a ticket, a business class ticket, to report on a particular airline or to report, you know, or on a tour organized by the airline, that I couldn't do. Now, however, for example, if, say, you know, Louis Vuitton in Paris sends me on a, you know, on a trip there because they have a big press conference involved of a professional, you know, event, and they send me a business class ticket, that's another story because that is part of your job, and you're not reporting on, you know, on Louis Vuitton Airlines.
Yes.
You're reporting on something else. But if it's actually, if I think the gift or whatever is given to you is connected in some way, directly connected in some way to the subject you're reporting on, then that's not something you can take.
Really? What if
No,
they
not
say?
really. I
No,
don't
what if they
believe.
say, okay, I'm sending you here. I'm going to pay for everything, hotel, blah blah blah, food, and I want you to write about my hotel in this place,
But-
and I want you to be honest. And whatever, even if you're gonna hurt me or something, I won't get hurt. I mean, criticize as much as you can.
Well, again, there are a couple of things around that. One, you cannot even afford the appearance of any impropriety, which, any sort of freebie necessarily engenders. Number two, it's difficult on even a psychological level to not let your reportage of the situation be biased, because even if you tell yourself, I'm going to be completely objective, yeah, this is what's wrong, whether conscious or subconsciously, it's human nature. You get influenced.
No, but even back to the Louis Vuitton, it doesn't mean that everything's going to be good about them. They do have lousy designs. They do have lousy,
True. So, but whether or not they have lousy designs or not, I mean, I cannot cover Louis Vuitton as a subject or as part of my beat and then accept freebies from them, because again, at the very least, it gives the impression of kind of pay for play or something like that.
Right. We're gonna have to pause for a break.
I know.
So, but we'll be right back with Wilson. We'll be right back.
Right back. Nagbabalik po ang She Said. She Said at kasama pa rin po natin ang manunulat na si Wilson Fang.
Wilson Fang.
Fang! Bakit?
Fangster in Jackie.
Gusto ko yung name mo. Anyway, I'd like to say hi to all my friends in the Malaya Business Insight Accounting Department. And hi to Mario. Thank you very much. Okay, we have for Wilson Fang some facial soap and hot chocolate from Classic Herbs Corporation.
Oh, thank you very much.
And thank you to Jay, John, Tita Lillian, and Tita Cora.
Okay, and from R&M, dried mangoes and dried pineapple. Not that you don't have already.
Yes, but
Thank you,
this is always
Chow.
appreciated. Thank you very much.
Yes, we'd also like to thank SM
Smart.
Department Stores for our clothes. Thank you to
Smart.
Tony and Guy, Eileen, TJ.
For me, I'd like to thank Noelle and Gian. Hope you find your phone.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
She lost her iPhone. She has a much better phone than I do.
Oh, really?
My makeup artist.
Yeah. And all my yayas and my driver, they have better phones than I do. But anyway,
Right.
I'd also like to thank Mert Best of Besas. Thank you to Shimian Manila, Dr. Levy Lansangan, and Dr. Anna Lansangan.
Thank you to Beverly Hills 6750.
Okay.
Okay, Wills.
Yes.
Wait, so of all the articles you've ever written, what is the most memorable to you?
There are several. It's like asking me, if I have 10 children, who my favorite child is.
Okay, who's your favorite child?
We can talk about that later. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
do believe in favorites.
Really?
Yeah, I do
because
believe
you know
in
you're the
favorite.
favorite.
Yeah,
of your
because you're the
class.
favorite.
No, I really do believe in favorites. In fact, last weekend, we met, let's not name names.
Yes.
Itago na lang natin sa
Sa
pangalan.
pangalang kapatid ni Tita Amalia.
Yes.
Okay.
Who has like 6 wives. And I had to ask him, who's your favorite?
Ay, that's easy naman to answer. Like, who was your favorite boyfriend? That's easy
No,
to
but
answer.
all the moms and dads that I know of, I ask them, who's your favorite? Then they'll say pare-pareho. I go, come on, that's not real. And then they...
Wait,
and
you
then,
talk about the children.
When I talk about their children.
Sinong paborito mong anak?
Yeah, no. Yeah, but in this case, I asked for the wife. But when I meet like couples and I say, who's your favorite? And they'll all say, pare-pareho. Then I, come on.
No.
You know you have a favorite.
Yeah.
You just don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
Come on. No one. They're never going to know. And they tell me. So everyone has favorites. You can't
Really?
help it. That's natural. I mean, come on. Even when I was
Well, my
teaching.
dad always says I'm his favorite.
I have
of
a
course,
favorite.
when my sister's there, he doesn't say it because she's the favorite or whatever.
Oh, she doesn't say it because he can't say it
No.
because she's there.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure he likes all.
See,
Or maybe
who's your favorite?
One is prettier, one is sexier,
Yeah.
one is this, one is smarter. What?
So what brought you to San Francisco?
I've been living in Manila basically since I was born, and I remember visiting San Francisco for the first time in the early 90s and just liking it, loving
But you
it
never
actually.
left after that visit.
No, I would come back and forth,
Do you have family there?
relatives, but when I moved there, I actually moved there basically on my own because
Oh,
Pretending
then?
who's beside you.
yeah.
Who? No, you have to tell me.
No. I just.
We were singing kasi in the car on
yeah,
my
in the
own.
car. Yeah,
Okay.
for Les Mis. No, basically, yeah,
yeah, that's your favorite
my
song.
paternal grandparents were naturalized U.S. citizens, so we all had green cards, because of that, and so it wasn't a problem for me to move there.
Yes.
It caused a certain degree of family discord because my father, Chinese, and as the eldest son,
I
was
was Chinese.
Yes.
Fang.
Fang, but I thought it was like
An affectation, just because.
no, not Chinese. Maybe
He's Wilson
German?
No.
Yeah, Wilson F. Yeah, my mom is Fernandez, so my mom is not Chinese.
Oh.
He doesn't look Chinese, right?
No.
Yeah. I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, it's weird because like in
Well,
San
not
Francisco.
even Filipino. You actually look.
Thai. Do you
Thai,
look?
yeah, Indonesian.
Do people think you're Filipino in San Francisco?
The weird thing is like I get,
No.
especially if I'm in the Mission District, which is heavily Hispanic, I get mistaken for Latino. Like little
Yeah,
old
but
ladies
then-
will walk up to me and like, mi iyo, and I'm like, lo siento, señora, pero no habla español. And they'll
Oh,
look
yeah,
at
that look.
and they'll look at me like,
With the
my
TH.
grandfather is part Spanish, but like they'll look at me like, this
Like,
guy's
after
crazy.
saying
I'm
all
like,
these
this guy's crazy. He just spoke to me in Spanish.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Crazy like the woman we saw on the highway.
Yes.
So we saw this crazy woman on the highway, and she
Here in
was
the
just there
Philippines.
on the floor. Yeah, well, on the way home.
Yeah.
From the beach. Remember when you didn't go?
Yeah.
And, so I said, roll down the window. Let's listen to what she's
yeah,
saying.
we were listening.
So we rolled
She
down
actually
the window.
kind of made sense.
And he's like, she's really crazy. But you know how the traffic was really bad, and these cars were creating like a third lane, so blocking the way. And she was actually making sense. She was like, "Susumong kita, wala nang daanan, dumadaan ka."
No, actually, people like that, they actually make sense. Because there was one, I used to live near Malacanang, and there was a lady there, and she used to, she was crazy, but she made sense.
If
I
you
guess,
really
like,
listen
if
to
you're-
them, you'll find out what
Yeah.
drove them crazy.
I mean, they understand what they're saying, but they just say it in a, a weird way.
Yeah,
crazy
it's like
way.
that song, Sinong Baliw, Or, there's that old saying as well, even a stopped clock is right twice a day.
Yeah. Hey, but Wilson is full of like these smart sayings.
Yeah, I like that.
I
Yeah.
like-
I don't know how
Margaret
smart they are, but
Thatcher.
just sayings.
Margaret Thatcher.
Oh yes, that's actually one of my favorite quotes. Margaret Thatcher once said, "Being powerful is like being a lady. If you have to tell people you are, you aren't."
Exactly.
Which makes a lot of
I
sense.
so agree.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
There you
Because
go.
one of these showbiz girls was making yabang to Tita Amalia about all the power she has.
Yeah.
You know her,
Yeah.
but never mind. Let's not mention
Itago
it.
na lang natin.
Sa
yeah.
pangalang, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll text it.
Text it.
Let's just call her the lady in the tent.
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Let me think.
No,
a
you had
reference
to
you
be
would,
there,
a
you
reference
had
you
to
would have gotten if you had come with us to the
Yeah,
beach.
but now
Okay,
it's
thank
not
you very
there.
much. Yeah, I know. I don't know. I don't want to regret
Yeah,
it.
you're
but-
gonna go crazy just thinking of this lost beach weekend.
So Wilson's actually someone you can ask any question about
Yeah, I know.
about anything in the world, and he knows the answer.
I know. Like if I were in school,
He's
I
an
would really
almanac.
call you all the time.
Well, not everything, but
Like
like
phone a friend for like
yeah,
those,
like
Yeah, if I
I'd
had
probably be one of the
contact.
ones, you want to be calling up for, who wants to be a millionaire or
Yeah,
something like
exactly.
that.
If we joined Family Feud
There you
and
go.
we were like,
we
related.
can pretend he's family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah,
and
so,
the three of us would come
yeah,
out
it was
together.
I've been wanting to join that since I was a kid.
I'm
There
doing
you go.
that.
What? Here or in the
Okay,
States?
Here in the States. Of course, here in the States. I'm here in the States. Here in
Wow,
the
you're in
Philippines.
the
I
States.
joined that. It was Aquinos. Well, should I say? Okay. Should I say?
Yeah.
Aquinos versus the Marcoses, but then the Marcoses backed out. So it became Aquinos versus the Estradas, Ejército Estradas.
Unlimited political.
But then they backed out. So it became the in-laws, the Estrada in-laws. So like Bernadette Allison and Gary Estrada's sister, they were the ones there because the main ones also backed out.
Okay.
So
we
who was in
came,
your
it was
family?
Mark, my husband, my brother Bobby, and Rina Aquino Concho,
Yeah.
daughter of Tita Lupita and
Yeah.
Uncle
What
Cesar.
about Chris?
So we didn't
Only three?
No, four. My husband, Bobby, Mark.
In Rina.
Di
My
ba five ang
husband,
family
Mark,
feud?
Akala ko
Bobby,
five.
Bobby, Rina Concho, and
Remember,
me,
Bob
so we
Barker
were
has to kiss
four.
everyone. It should be
Not
five.
Bob
know.
Barker,
Anyway,
Richard
it was-
Dawson.
Yeah, Richard Dawson, yeah.
See.
So it was, so we were four, and we got there, and we were wearing yellow. All of us were wearing yellow. So of course, when they saw us, they were, I guess, intimidated. And we already had things to say, like, hindi ka nag-iisa, or,
Yeah.
sobra na, tama na, palitan na.
Yeah,
We had all these
yeah.
things. And then when we spoke and introduced ourselves, we said those things. We said our lines. And of course, they got so intimidated. Until the end of the show, Rina and I were the ones who did the jackpot round,
Uh-huh.
and we got it.
I
There you
love
go.
it.
Yeah!
I love it.
we had so much fun.
Yeah, about the same
Next
amount
time.
of